What's up, freaks? This is just me, and today we're taking a look at the best hamstrings in the side poses. So, we're basically talking about the hamstring sweep, also sometimes referred to as the hanging hamstring. Now, it has to be said, in some cases, I found that it was pretty hard to see the actual hamstring to distinguish where it exactly ends, how low it goes, how low it hangs. So I decided to filter the images so they're kind of clearer, more sharp, so you all can see it better. I just wanted to inform you about that real quick. The only filtered picture is going to be the one in the middle of the three pictures that we're going to be seeing for all the bodybuilders, of course, and I filtered it the same exact way, so don't worry, it's still fair for everyone. Plus, on either of the photos on the sides of the screen, you can see what the certain bodybuilder actually looks like, so it shouldn't be a problem. Now, let's get into it finally, right? Starting us off is Vitali Golnikov, an up-and-coming bodybuilder competing these days, and still just getting started, I guess. That's why the pictures are pretty bad and why he places very low despite having very impressive hamstrings from the side. He hasn't really proved himself yet, so in the future he would probably move higher on my list. Now I can say that Vitali has got very impressive quads, but he doesn't let the hams be dwarfed by them in the side poses. So that's commendable, and that's why I'm including him. This is a 212 competitor, also from the current lineups, Kion Pearson. And let me tell you, he sports a good hamstring sweep. From the side, looks really good, flows well with the physique of Kion, and the hamstring's big, it's large. Makes his side poses complete, and it's very aesthetic, even I would say. Like, I think it's not an exaggerated statement to say that. It looks pleasing to the eye of the beholder. That's why I included Kion. Very impressive. In line is the 7-time 212 Mr. Olympia, James Flax Lewis, a current, we can say, competitor. His side leg is not as thick as some of the open class competitors, but it is undeniably very detailed. It looks so defined and so elegant, and that's including the hamstrings. They don't really hang, but they get the job done for sure, to my eyes at least. But I gotta say, not very eye-catching. So let's move on. We have Steve Koklow. This is also a currently competing bodybuilder with a good hamstring hang. His hams are pretty big and they do hang quite low. Still nothing mind-blowing, but far from being something to scoff at. Good development. The hanging hamstring nicely completes Steve's side poses, and I think it's impressive. Now here's King Kamali. He's from the 2000s. He has great quads and glutes from the side, so he doesn't really have much of an eye-catching hamstring hang, but he's got it surely. Although it's pretty short, because his glutes are big, it's still a very impressive hanging ham. Once again, completes King Kamali's side poses, although it is not the largest hamstring and quite weirdly shaped. It has to be said. Here we got a 90s talent, the Godzilla Baldi, who I wasn't expecting to see on this list because he's not known for his hamstring whatsoever, but I discovered him and I think that he does look super impressive in the hamstring area. It hangs very low and it's quite eye-catching. Godzilla, he's of course got awesome quads, but once again the hams are not getting outsized in my opinion. That's why Paul makes the list of the best hamstring hangs. Now we have a 2000s and 2010s competitor, Kai Green, having some of the best side legs overall of all time. But I gotta admit, it's really more thanks to the quad and especially the large glutes. They're dominant over the hamstrings, but still Kai Green has an awesome hamstring hang. It's just not a standout feature because he's so good in the rest of his body too. But come on, look at the huge hamstrings. He's definitely uh, on my list for a reason. I don't think you can argue that. Guy's hamstring is for sure hanging down low, and it's very large and developed. Hassan Mustafa. This is a guy competing in today's lineups, and he's not the most shredded and ripped by far, so you're not gonna see that many cuts overall. But the hams are awesome, I'm here to tell you. They hang low, very low, and they look amazing, really. He's got crazy size and development, and also a bit of detail in the like bicep, as the hamstrings are sometimes referred to. And this is Branch Warren. From the era of the 2000s and 2010s, some of the thickest, largest legs of that era he possessed. And his hamstring sweep stands out a bit, although he's got some other lower body features. I find Branch's hamstring hang much more than decent. The ham is big and well separated from the side of the quad. That's why Branch needs to be mentioned. Here's Nasser Body, the 90s uncrowned Mr. Olympia. He's got some amazing hamstrings, trust me on this. Super defined from the back, but also huge from the side. Look at them, they're definitely eye-catching the way they're separated from the quads, and when you examine closely, you won't be disappointed. The hang is quite prominent because it takes up a significant part of Nasser's upper leg. Nasser's got great hams from all angles, if you ask me. Cedric McMillan, who is a competitor from the 2010s, still doing shows up to this point. His whole leg is supremely detailed. His hamstring is very separated from the quad. But it's not all. Look at how big his hams are. Really well developed hamstrings for Cedric. And he's a taller guy, so he's got a lot of space there to work with, I would say, like Nasser. Not known for a good sweep there, but I mean, just look at it. I find it really impressive and it looks nice and aesthetic even. It flows well with the rest of the physique of Cedric McMillan. Next we have a very well-known bodybuilder, Ronnie Coleman. He's an 8-time Mr. in the 90s and 2000, and he's got supremely detailed hamstrings, more than anyone on this list probably, at least from the side. Comes handy in the rear poses, but here in the side poses it honestly doesn't really help Big Ron to have this prominent groove in his hamstring, because it makes the hamstring hang look least impressive. And that's what we're focusing on today, so that's why Ronnie doesn't crack the top 5 or anything. He's not even close, honestly. Plus his hams are outshined by his giant glute and quad developments. But no question he belongs on the list because he's got great development, undeniably. Next in line is down from the 20s, Gustavo Bedell. And this guy also less prominent hamstring sweep because of the great level of glute and quad size, but still hanging very low. In my opinion, quite impressive. Not the biggest, but it's enough. It looks great. I hope you agree that Gustavo is really good in the hamstring development from the side. Rowdy Winkler comes next, a current guy who also goes by the nickname The Beast. Not known for a great lower body overall, but if there's a highlight, a great feature in his wheels, it's gotta be the hams, and especially seen from the side. It just hangs off him. It's not overshadowed by anything else, and it really helps Rolly in the side poses because he needs insane thickness in his side leg to match his super thick upper body. Otherwise, his legs would look scrawny no matter what. That's a great hanging hamstring. Our next entry is a gentleman from the 90s and 2000s, an absolute giant killer in Lee Priest, known for his arms, but he also has great wheels and again stand out hamstrings. From the side, the ham hangs very low, and it gives the blonde myth his wow factor in these poses. His hang catches my sight immediately when I see these photos, so that's why he places pretty high. But we still have quite a few guys to go through, so let's continue to the next bodybuilder, which is currently competing 212er, Ahmed Ashkanani. You might not have heard of him before if you don't follow 212 especially, but I'm telling you, he has some of the most impressive hamstrings ever, even as I see it. He's really impressing me a lot. Look at the hang. He's got so well developed hamstrings, it looks amazing. Not known for it, but a great hamstring hang for sure. Next, Ben Pakulski. This is a guy who was known in the 2000s and 2010s for having some of the best wheels of his era. And he's got some great hams from the side as well. They're very, very large and they hang down low. Really gives the Pac-Man his wow factor in these. His leg look awesome, including the hamstring. Very low. Look at that, it's awesome. Next, Dennis Wolfe from the 20s and 2010s as well. Dennis is pretty famous and known for his hamstring hang from the side, I would say, and he is in fact very good in that region. He's got a very thick leg and the hams are quite a standout feature for him in the side shots. The big bad wolf has got a good hamstring hang for sure. It's a sight to behold and in my opinion very impressive. Next, we have Phil Heath, our 7-time Mr. Olympia champion, also the 2000s and 2010s. This era seems to be dominating on the list. Anyway, Phil is also known for his supreme hanging hamstring, and just like Dennis Wolfe, justifiably so. This is starting to look really impressive. It's unreal how someone can have hamstrings so developed that they hang off him like that. That's a sight to the beholder, for sure. It's a standard feature in the gift side poses in my opinion. It's so defined and large. And again, it's really making these poses work so well for him. But here we got Art Atwood, and this is straight up freaky. Art was a lesser known guy whose career spanned in the 2000 era, and take a look at that hamstring hang. I don't know why nobody ever talks about Art, it seems, when it comes to the hamstring sweep. True, it's not very aesthetic whatsoever. It looks really odd, like the whole leg looks kind of weird. And the hamstring, it kind of looks like only one half of the hamstring is hanging, but I mean, this is what I call a real freak factor. Art's oddly shaped hamstrings really gets the job done for him and makes him look like an absolute monster. That's why he is on this list. And now we have a current guy from the 212 division, John Joet. You might not be familiar with this person, but he's got an amazing hamstring sweep, really, in my opinion. A very standout feature for John. It's such a long hamstring, you know what I'm saying? And it's so huge. It's very, very impressive. Awesome. This is great stuff from John, and I hope he keeps bringing this kind of mass in the hamstrings to these upcoming shows. Yet another set of hams from the 2000s. This guy is called Mustafa Mohammed. He's known for insane lower body development. He's showing us here in these pictures what a real standout eye-catching muscle group looks like in a pose. The hams, what can I say? So big, so developed, so well separated, they completely dominate the poses for him. So Mustafa Mohammed definitely deserves a spot here for sure. And now we move to our top 5 placings in this video. And who is this, you might be asking? This is Alexis Rivera. He had a brief competitive career in the 2010s, not that long ago actually. And the hamstring sweep, it's unbelievable in my opinion. So eye-catching, huge hamstrings. I hope Alexis decides to compete again, because if he does, we're gonna witness something mind-boggling, I'm sure. In the side shots of Alexis Rivera, if we get to have our side on the hanging hamstring again, I would love to see that. This is really very impressive to me for a lesser known guy. But we go on to the 4th place finisher. Justin Compton from the current era. Mind-blowing. Look at that hang. It takes up nearly 1/2 of his side leg. I mean, it's literally the size of his squat. Can you even believe that? Because his squats for sure aren't small. In my opinion, this is incredible. To be honest, I would expect the hamstring to be more of a standout to dominate this pose completely for Justin. But still, if you focus on the side leg, it's like 60% hamstring. Literally. Even more than with the other guys on the list. That's why Justin's hamstring sweep still is on this list and why it's so high, because it's so impressive to me. I think you might argue he shouldn't be so high, but I just can't place him any lower. He impresses me so much. And now for 3rd place, we go back all the way to the 80s. What? Yes, Mr. Tomplatz is just the king of leg development. He was years ahead of anyone else in that time period. He's mainly known and celebrated for the quads and also calves, but take a look at the hamstring hang. It's not getting out-muscled by the huge quad. And I have to remind you, in the 80s, bodybuilders didn't display the lower body the same way as they do nowadays. If Tomplatz sat down a bit more, if he used today's display of the side shots, I'd wager to say it would make his hamstring sweep look even more impressive, because it basically looks more impressive the lower you sit on it. You can see the potential a bit more in the pic of the right, where it just looks so bulbous. It's like a balloon, and a very large balloon. The quad-father Tomplatz has got awesome hamstrings in my opinion. Let's continue to the 2nd place. 2nd place is Nikolas Joet. This is a guy who I haven't even heard of before I started making this video, to be honest, because he's a 212 athlete and I just never came across him ever until now. And he's kind of a treat for us, I guess, because he's competing today, and I believe he's gonna be bringing this awesome hamstring development in the following years. And I have to say, guy's 100% legit, supreme, very impressive hamstring sweep, hanging off him, looking like a huge ball. And he even has some details down there. For a lesser known competitor, Nikolas Joet is awesome in the hamstring sweep area. But our winner for today is Tomplatz. This is a man from the 2000s for the most part. He is probably the most well-known person for this feature. We're discussing today the hanging hamstring of all time. And what can I say about this? This is just freakishly massive, jaw-dropping. It's so balloonish and it hangs so low. I wouldn't blame anyone for thinking these photos were photoshopped, because the thickness from the side of the leg is unbelievable. It's so good. And he's a lesser known guy, but you need to be aware of him, if only just for this one feature. He's incredible in the hams, truly. I think a very deserved win, almost unbeatable. So, what do you guys think about this list? Do you agree with my picks, or is there anyone more impressive in the history than Tomplatz? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to watch some best hamstrings videos and also like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day.